I think I speak for a large majority of wrestling fans when I say that AEW is just not good. Scratch that. More like, AEW isn't where it should be. It's in its third year on TV, and just by looking at the ratings of Dynamite and Rampage, it seems that AEW has hit a roadblock. The company still has a ton of potential and all the pieces to become the alternative to the WWE that we've all been craving for years. Unfortunately, all of that is dependent on the mindset of Tony Khan, who seems pretty adamant on putting on the product that he wants to put out. Granted, it is his show, and he can continue to book his shows as he so chooses. But if he really wants his project to grow, he should really listen to the constructive feedback from those outside of his usual circle. I'm here to offer some criticism on my own, and before you start headbutting your keyboard in the comments, I'm gonna put out there that this isn't an anti-AEW rant. I just want the show to be better. A lot of people want the show to be better. Tony Khan needs to do better. Right now, AEW is not as good as its fans think it is. Why? Let's talk about it. I grew up during the Ruthless Aggression era, and when I tell you that we were spoiled. I didn't have the opportunity to grow up watching classic pro wrestling, but as a kid in the 2000s, wrestling was just magic. I'm talking great matches, awesome storylines, and an irreplaceable roster of talent. I'm talking John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Hardy. I can go on and on. Wrestling was just wild. Not to mention that the music during this era was unbelievably good, unlike the music that we have today. The overall vibe of wrestling was great. It was sports entertainment, but it was the kind of sports entertainment that defined a generation. I remember being in middle school and literally only talking about wrestling with my friends. Whether you were a SmackDown kid or a Raw kid, the 2000s held a special place in your heart. But of course, not all good things last, and we transitioned into the PG era, which wasn't terrible at first. There was just a noticeable difference in the product as a whole. Still a lot of great talent and the occasional banger storylines, but the elements that we all loved from the Ruthless Aggression era were gone. Fast forward to 2018, and for me at least, the WWE had gotten stale. It wasn't bad, but at the same time it could have been so much better. It was just boring. There really wasn't much excitement anymore. Of course, growing up played a factor, but overall, the scripting of wrestling was just trash. After a while, it got to the point where I stopped watching the weekly shows and stuck to the YouTube clips to fill me in on the storylines. And that was it. I became what I feared the most: a casual fan. Oh, and then it happened. News broke out that some rich billionaire wrestling fan wanted to start his own wrestling company. A professional wrestling company. I loved the Ruthless Aggression era as much as everyone else, but I wanted something better. I was hoping for a show that played off of classic wrestling with the entertainment factor of the Attitude Era. We were finally getting an alternative to the WWE's style of entertainment, and I was hyped. I literally counted down the days to the first Double or Nothing show because pro wrestling needed something new. Impact was steadily rebuilding, and ROH was, well, ROH. This felt fresh and new, and the buzz was insane. On top of that, Double or Nothing actually delivered. Everything was falling into place to solidify the first true rival to Vince McMahon since WCW. But then it went downhill. Like I said before, and I know I have to repeat this, I'm not blasting AEW just because I don't like it. I'm just pointing out a lot of the things that the general audience of non-AEW faithful find wrong with the show. So, take a deep breath, and let's keep it civilized. As we all know, today's WWE booking is complete hot dog water at times. Vince McMahon is stuck in his old ways and nothing's gonna change. However, Tony Khan, on the other hand, you have no excuses, my boy. After 3 years, how does your booking still not make a lick of sense sometimes? And this is excluding anything that has to do with stories revolving around CM Punk or MJF, because in my opinion, their segments carry the whole show. I'm talking about the random tag team matches, random trios matches, random wrestlers showing up on TV that we don't know who the hell they are, an excess amount of factions, no defined babyfaces or heels, the ridiculously abysmal booking of the women's division, and the fact that the talent that could probably draw him some more money if booked properly are barely seen on TV on a weekly basis, with the most disappointing example being FTR. Of course, they're on TV and being recognized as one of the best tag teams in the world now, but for a while, it felt like we needed to beg Tony Khan to put them on TV. They consistently show how great they are, and Tony should have built his tag team division around them. I say that because I just want to watch good, logical wrestling that tells a story. FTR fills all those categories. I cannot for the life of me stand the indie car crash style of wrestling. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they're great matches, but when they happen all the time, it just gets repetitive. Wrestling fans have become so desensitized to hardcore matches because they happen so much on this show, and they aren't special anymore. The ones that want these styles of matches are the ones that Tony Khan caters way too heavily to. He caters heavily to his hardcore audience, and honestly, the television ratings reflect that. The core audience hasn't grown, it's stayed the same for 3 years now, and even declined a bit. Those fans are the ones that are going to watch the show and make excuses for the booking no matter what. Unfortunately, most of them are the obnoxious I hate WWE crowd. They swear that AEW is professional wrestling, but in actuality, AEW is just like the WWE, only it has more blood. We were promised a sports-based presentation of wrestling that would change the business as a whole. Instead, we just got an edgier version of the WWE. There really isn't anything sports-based about AEW besides the rankings, and we all know that those don't make any damn sense either. As much as AEW fans hate this term, the product is sports entertainment. Oh, but how is it sports entertainment, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. The House of Black gimmick, Orange Cassidy, Stadium Stampede, this nonsense, stupid gimmicks, Mimosa Mayhem, the wrestling dinosaur, Danhausen cursing people, every single hardcore match, more stupid gimmicks, and the list goes on. Every single thing I listed is something you could easily see on Monday Night Raw. AEW is sports entertainment, and that's okay. The problem lies in the denial of that fact. We wanted professional wrestling. Real professional wrestling. Serious professional wrestling. Can there be fun moments in wrestling? Absolutely. But if Tony Khan is looking to present a serious product, throw all the sports entertainment nonsense on one of the YouTube shows and keep all the serious stuff on television. Like, how can you have a roster with Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, FTR, Thunder Rosa, Ricky Starks, Hangman Page, MJF, Jamie Hayter, Samoa Joe, Keith Lee, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Jay Lethal, Tony Storm, and others, and still present a product that hasn't even come close to passing the WWE in ratings? Like, at this point, Vince is literally handing you the W and you're not doing anything about it. Make it make sense, please. And no, I'm not counting NXT because it really isn't a flex to beat a developmental third brand. So no, sit your ass down with that argument. All in all, AEW isn't a terrible product. There are a few bright spots, but we have to sit through a lot of garbage on a weekly basis. It's just annoying to think of what AEW could have been with the right people in charge and proper booking. With that being said, if you enjoy AEW, that's perfectly fine. This video isn't aimed at changing your perception of the product. This was just me pointing out a lot of things that past and present wrestling fans think of it. Like I said before, WWE kinda trash most of the time. But of course Vince doesn't care at this point as long as he's making profit. The WWE itself isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It's basically bulletproof. Tony Khan, on the other hand, clearly cares about what the fans feel about his product. If he wants to reel in fans that feel the same way that I do, he needs to revamp his shows and give us the professional wrestling program that he promised at the beginning. He's not going to do it, of course, but I feel like his product would improve exponentially if he got out of his own way. A sports-based AEW was what the wrestling world needed. What we got is just an edgy form of sports entertainment. But, like I've stated multiple times now, these are just my thoughts. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know.